Hello, everyone. In this video, I'm going to describe the research article summary assignment. A couple of individuals have already submitted their assignment, and I've received a lot of questions, so I'd like to clarify some of the issues and provide a brief tutorial about how to do this assignment. So the purpose of this assignment is to give you an opportunity to read an empirical scientific study and be able to describe what the researchers did, what they concluded, and what the next steps are moving forward for this field of research. I think this is one of the most important skills, particularly if you're going into further scientific studies. Definitely if you're planning to pursue further courses in psychology, being able to read a scientific article and being able to describe it in your own words is a really, really important skill. So for this assignment, you have the choice of reading one of three articles. So here on our Canvas page, under Research Article Summary, you'll see this study by Moreno and colleagues about Facebook depression, about how Facebook and its relationship with depressive symptoms. This study that we mentioned earlier in the semester from Amy Cuddy and colleagues about power posing, their original study, and then the follow-up study that we also mentioned on power posing, which is also interesting. So you have the choice of reading one of these three articles and then answering a few questions about the article. So the questions will just be submitted on Canvas. You just have to type in your answer. You don't have to email me anything. You don't have to upload anything. Just type in your answer, very similar to the quizzes that we've done before in this course. I also mentioned that this assignment is for extra credit. So there are 40 points allocated for this assignment in the syllabus towards your final grade. If you do the assignment and get all 40 points, great, you've met the requirement. And if you want to earn extra credit, you can read a second research article and answer the questions for that. For example, if you decide to read this article first and you answer the questions about it, you would submit your answers in this one, in this research article summary portal. And then if you want to gain extra credit, you would pick another article to read and then submit your answers here in the second one to show that you've earned extra credit. Everyone has the opportunity to do a total of two research article summaries, and only one is required to get full points for this course. So I'm going to click here on Research Article Summary, and it has some more instructions here. You'll see that the assignment is due on Wednesday, July 29th at 5:30 p.m. I'll likely be entering final grades that evening. So please make sure to get it in, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or any problems between now and then. And I'm going to click on preview, and this will take us to the questions themselves. As you can see, you can just type in your answers here, just like the quiz for this week. And I'm going to go back to the module. And so you'll want to download one of these articles to read. You can download as a PDF or open it here in Canvas and answer the questions. You'll see this article here. So don't pick this article. This is a sample that I'm going to use for this tutorial, just to show you my thinking about how to read a research article, as well as the sample answers that I'll show next. So for this example, this was a study called "The Pen is Mightier Than the Keyboard, the Advantages of a Longhand over Laptop Note-Taking." And so the very first question is just to put in the title of the research article. There we go. A note on point values. So I've put some approximate point values in this for this assignment. I'm looking for approximately one sentence per point. So question number one is just 1 point. I'm just looking for the title. You don't have to put anything else. This question is worth 2 points. So I'm looking for maybe a little bit more, maybe a long sentence, or maybe a couple sentences to describe it, and then another 2-point question. Question number 4, the methods used in the study is a longer question. I'm not necessarily looking for 10 sentences, but I'm looking for this to be one of the longer portions of this assignment, as well as the main results. They don't have to be equal, but I just want them to be longer, probably definitely more than 5 sentences. And then these sections as well are perhaps shorter, but probably around at least 3, 4, 5 sentences kind of thing. So just think about approximately 1 sentence per point. So for question number 2, what was the overall purpose of this research study? So this research study, to get the overall purpose, you can read the introduction. It's not listed here. You can read the introduction, which is everything until where it says study 1. But you can also take a look at the abstract, which is a shortened version or a short summary of the entire research study. It tells you about the basic premise of the research study, as well as the basic methods that were used and the main conclusions that the researchers came up with. So the overall purpose for this study was that the researchers hypothesized that taking written notes provides better memory recall of conceptual information than using a laptop to take notes. So they were examining longhand note-taking versus taking notes on the laptop, and trying to make a recommendation of which one was better for students. So I could probably add that as a second sentence. They examine students. Okay, so that would be question number 2. Question number 3 was the hypothesis for this experiment. So to find the hypothesis, you would probably want to look probably the last couple or last 2 paragraphs of whichever paper that you read. I'm going to put the answer that I have here, and you can check my answer. Here, the researchers hypothesized that taking written notes provides better memory recall of conceptual information than using a laptop to take notes. Let me see if I can find exactly where they said that. So here they kind of make a non-directional statement that they conducted 3 experiments to investigate whether taking notes on a laptop versus writing longhand affects academic performance. And I think it was, yeah, in reading this in its entirety, they bring up some limitations of using a laptop, such as typing may impair encoding benefits that are seen in note-taking studies, but also that the ability to transcribe might be better for external storage benefits or for holding the memories longer or long-term recall. So I might actually revise this, that they, yeah, actually no, I'll let that stay. That's a good example. And then regarding the participants, so this is very easy. You can just look or the methods in total. So most of these studies, this article that I'm showing you here has 3 studies in it. I'm just going to describe study 1. The articles I've given you only have 1 study in them. So for study 1, the participants were 67 students, 33 male, 33 female. It describes the materials, it describes the procedure, and then you may also have a section describing the statistical analysis. So here's the kind of thing I would use for this study. I would describe I'd use basically the same format, describe the participants first, and then describe the materials that are used, and feel free to use bullet points. and then describe the procedure. The procedure is really helpful for really helping me understand, or helping you show that you understood what the tasks involved in the study were, and that you understand what the hypotheses were and how they tested it. So this is a really important section of this to put some detail in, but feel free to use bullet points and numbers. Then I'd like you to try to parse out what were the independent and dependent variables. So you may have to go back, if you're not as familiar with those terms, to what you discussed in lab. Independent variables and dependent variables. The dependent variable, the thing that you are measuring; the independent variable, the thing that you might think might affect that dependent variable. So in this study, let's see what I wrote. In this study, I said that the independent variable was the participants' note-taking strategy. And there are two levels, that they were either using a laptop or they were using a longhand writing. And then the dependent variable was the number of correct answers on a task that they gave them. I think it was some kind of a memory task that they gave them. Just fill that in. And then after that, and this question is worth 5 points, but I've answered it in basically just those two sentences. And then after that, what were the main results of the experiments? So I'm just going to describe study number 1. So for this, 1 second. So for study number 1, you want to go to, or for all of your studies, you want to go to the results section. You might see some tables. It's probably a good idea to look at the captions in the tables to get a sense for what they're describing. And then take a detail. Don't get too, you don't need to read it in too much detail. There's a lot of statistics here that I know not everyone in this course has taken a statistics course to understand all the terms that are being used in these papers. But just take a look at the text and see what they're describing. And you can also take a look at what's written in the discussion sections. I'm going to scroll down to here. So here there's a general discussion section. And for this case, for this paper in particular, they also had a kind of mini discussion section here described in each section. And you just want to you can kind of copy and paste what's written in the results section and perhaps put it in your own words, or summarize it or condense it to really try and go back and answer the hypotheses that you had written about in the beginning. So for this study on factual questions, the participants in both groups performed equally well. And on conceptual questions, the written note-taking group performed better than the, that's wrong, than the laptop group. So in this study, earlier as is described here in the procedure, they gave them a memory test with some factual questions. They had them watch a TED Talk. And then after a delay, the participants had to answer some factual questions about just basic facts of the TED Talk, and then answer some conceptual questions about what did the speaker in the TED Talk, what did they mean, more conceptually, more advanced than just basic facts. And I see here that they had to watch 5 TED Talks. And so what they found was that for the conceptual questions, the written note-taking group did better than the laptop group. Participants in both groups who had less verbatim overlap with the lecturer also performed better, and participants in the laptop group were performed equally as well in the laptop. That's another mistake. I think it was participants in the written intervention group performed equally well as participants in the laptop group when the people in the written group were instructed not to write verbatim notes and were instructed to write the notes in their own words. And so I'm just going to write one sentence here. One of the main conclusions of this research article was that laptops can negatively affect performance on educational assessments, even when the computer is used for its intended function of making note-taking easier. So you want to just kind of summarize everything we talked about and think about the real-world application. So in this sense, if a student asks me, should I take notes by hand or take notes on a laptop? Well, I might say that, well, what research has shown is that both are good for keeping things in your memory in terms of factual information. But if you want to have a deeper level of processing or a deeper level of understanding what you're listening to, then it's probably best to write things down because that's been shown to offer benefits when answering conceptual questions. So you can write something like that. And then the last question is to talk about what you would do in a follow-up study. What are some limitations of the current research article and what could be changed to improve the methods or to clarify the results? And some clues for how to talk about this section, you may find in the last page of the article, some statements about future studies or about things that didn't quite go right, or some various limitations, or how it compares to previous studies. And feel free to be creative here. You don't have to use what's in the article. You can just be creative and try to describe what you might think if you were a researcher, even with limited experience, what you might think would be a cool follow-up study. So hopefully that answers some of the questions. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any additional questions. And yeah, best of luck.